G'day golfers. Ever found yourself redirecting blame and making excuses after having an absolute shocker on a golf course? I know that I have. Range was closed, I was a little cold, didn't warm up, I hit it in those 3 old divots. Then we have the podcast for you. We focus on how to fundamentally own your swing. Strike it pure and consistently shoot in the 70s. Be it if you're a weekend hack, retired and playing daily, a school phenom or a tour professional. We present and discuss facts and physics pertaining to golf, trying to keep our ego and opinion at bay. We dispel myths such as keep your head down, bend your knees, or my all-time favourite, game improvement irons. So stop drinking that mythical Kool-Aid and have a sip of ours. I think you'll find it both inspiring and refreshing. I'm Scott Young, founder of Swing, PGA professional and ex-tour player. Welcome to Pivot the Path. G'day golfers and welcome to Pivot the Path. Hope you've had a great week pivoting your path. We certainly have in here at Swing, and we're kicking off our group training in about 45 minutes, 6:30 Monday morning. Get these New Yorkers starting to move a little better. So we've had a big week in sport. Everyone was playing and we had the Wimbledon finals. Mixed emotions on the old Wimbledon. We'll get more of that on the greens, but what a week in sport. So our improvement pivot point comes from actually a session I had with 2 of our brilliant members in here on the greens. We're going to talk about what I tried to work on and what we found with our members that is absolutely instrumental, and how we really identified, as much as they can practice the methodical work in here a little bit technically, if you can't do certain things on the golf course when you go play, it's going to have a bit of a ripple effect. We'll get into that in the improvement pivot point. News from the Fairways. Start with Wimbledon. Now this, as you know, I'm a tennis nut. Wimbledon for me is like the Masters or the Open, the tennis event to win. Obviously we've got our Aussie Grand Slam, US Grand Slam and Roland Garros. But Wimbledon holds a special place in my heart. I remember as a young kid watching Pat Cash climb the stands. I believe he was the first one to do that when a young Aussie won the Wimbledon event. So ever since Pat Cash climbed those stands, I've loved Wimbledon. This year it's going to be interesting. So we had Iga Swiatek, Poland, young Polish lass, won her first Wimbledon 6-zip. First time in years that 6-love, a Wimbledon final, ladies, has been won in that fashion. Now, I think if we get back to Brian Campbell, when he won his first PGA Tour event, carved it out of bounds, hit a tree, came back in, Brian then went on to some great things. And I think the young American, Amanda Anesmira, Amanda's got a really pivotal point in her career. And I think this is really important. And this is why we talk about this on Pivot the Path. Amanda's team can pivot her path. She's clearly a brilliant tennis player. She got into the Wimbledon final. But then she lost 6-love, and got absolutely demoralized. And I think it's about the team and her psyche to come back. They're talking about what happened, what processes went well, what processes didn't go so well. And so I think, like Brian Campbell, who came back a better golfer, I really hope, Amanda, you come back a better tennis player, because you're brilliant. You got into the Wimbledon ladies final, and I think it's about how we handle defeat. Golf and tennis are largely games of defeat, in that a lot of the time you are not going to play as well as you want, and you can handle defeat in certain ways. And I really hope, Amanda, you and your team take stock, be unemotional, be pragmatic, pivot your path, and get back to the US Open. And I'd love her to win the US Open. So hopefully you do. And then let's get to the men. And Sinner beat young Alcaraz. Now, here's where I get a little bit, and in a reverent tone, understanding that, hey, look, sport's not perfect. But Sinner just had a 3-month ban for taking clostebol, which is an anabolic steroid to reproduce muscle growth and tissue development. Now, Nick Kyrgios, who's that crazy Aussie, who a mate of mine's one of his hitting partners, and through him, I've got to understand Nick's a lovely guy. I don't know Nick. But Nick came out and said a couple of months ago that, hey, look, he's been rife with injury, and he's hopefully making Nick Kyrgios is hopefully playing in the US. He hasn't played all year. He said, I could have taken anabolic steroids to come back easier, but I didn't, and I made the choice to make it natural. Now, in my opinion, if Sinner's taking anabolic steroids, dude, that's a year ban. In the Tour de France, which is going on right now, that's an automatic 2-year ban if you get caught. Now, I know that that's a bigger discussion. But he got caught, he took anabolic steroids, and in my opinion, that should be an automatic 2-year ban or a 1-year ban. 3 months and then come back and win a major. Sorry, or a Grand Slam. In my book, that's no bueno. So not a massive fan of how he won Wimbledon. I think every athlete it comes into their orbit, and how you deal with banned steroids or banned substance in your orbit's really important. And so I'm not a massive fan of that. Anyway, we move on. News from the fairways with golf. We had the LPGA Evian Championship, one of the LPGA's 5 majors, and Grace Kim won with 14 under. So fantastic, Grace. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. First major, power to you. So DP Tour, we had a co-sanctioned event with PGA Tour, as the British Open is this week. We had the Scottish Open, and young Chris Gotterup won his first DP Tour event, closing with a 66. And I really love this interview. If you get a chance, just look at Chris's interview, and I really love this. And it probably shouts out, where this young fella's going to go. He's only 25, 26-ish. His interview and the Scottish interviewer said, you've got Rory and all these great players, Scheffler and everyone breathing down your neck. And he went, I don't care. I'm playing great golf. I know how to get this done. And he said, I love that I ruined Rory's parade. Now, that is a wonderful mental statement. I'll say it again. He loved that he ruined Rory's parade. Not in a personal attack of Rory. It's got nothing to do with Rory, but just in a self-confident way of saying, hey, I know I'm brilliant, and I'm going to go on to some brilliant things. And if I compare that to how Rory's often talked in the past, there's not that level of confidence at the greatest stage, which is bizarre. Obviously, he won the Masters. But this young kid just showed a very pragmatic, level-headed way of backing his abilities. So just look out for young Chris in the coming years. I think he's going to be a phenomenal player in the majors. Just with that attitude was superb. Korn Ferry, we had Neal Shipley. Remember that big chap? I think he's featured on the Ping ads right now. Shipley won a Korn Ferry event. He's obviously dabbling between Korn Ferry and Main Tour. And I think for the players on PGA Tour who haven't quite got their mojo found, to duck back to the Korn Ferry where the pressure's off in a little bit on the actual player, it's nice just to gain that self-confidence. So Shipley won with 8 under closing round. So just amazing golf. That big lad can play. He's venturing onto main tour without a doubt. PGA Tour, obviously half the players were in Scotland getting ready for the Open, which has obviously been played in Portrush, Northern Ireland. But William Mouw, first win. And get this, 4th round, shoots 9 under, comes from nowhere to win his first tour event. Now, it's a $4 million event as opposed to the $8 million, so I'm not exactly sure on how many starts he gets. Obviously, he'll be exempt for a couple of years, but I don't believe he gets the full exemptions. And obviously, when you win a PGA Tour event, the money's great, but don't forget, these guys of 125, 150 playing the PGA Tour plus, most of them have around 500, 600, 700 grand before they even pull the trigger with sponsors and endorsements, so to speak. So young William, mate, shout out to you. First event, first win, good on you. And 9 under to do it. That's insane. So getting back to PGA Tour, just who we follow. Not many guys played. I think they're obviously getting ready for the Open. Cam Young was the only chap we follow who played. Cam didn't play too well, 7 over. But also nice to see Sean O'Hare and a dear mate of mine, Skinsy, David Skins, came tied 4th. Skinsy was part of our periphery travelling group way back when, and Skinsy tied 4th. Awesome work, mate. And we had the Live Tour played, and Taylor Gooch, there's a bit of a blast from the past. Taylor shot 8 under and won the Spanish at Valderrama there, the Spanish Live event. Finished from a very fast closing John Rahm. So that leads us to On the Greens, and this was a really cool moment for myself. And we've got 2 of our great members here who, one was practicing, one was getting PT from Matty, and the chap getting PT from Matty was talking about his upcoming Connecticut Golf Club 125th year, and the chap who was practicing kind of ears propped up and said, oh, 125-year-old golf club, Connecticut, there's not too many of those. Lo and behold, 2 of our members who had never met were members at the same golf club in Madison, Connecticut, which is bizarre. It gets even funnier. They live about 7 houses apart from one another and they'd never met. So We then organised a game of golf very last minute on Friday at the Madison Golf Club. So shout out Frank, head pro, and all his crew. Made me feel so welcome. And Madison was the epitome of what I love about golf. I was one of the first guys to arrive. One of our members who we played with was already there. And the place just buzzed pride. You will go a long way to find a golf course that brims with more pride than Madison Golf Club. I get there at a bit before 7 a.m. and there's a young man and he's cleaning all the windows of the clubhouse. It's a very small clubhouse, small pro shop. Have a great quick chat to him at 6:45 in the morning. And from the time I got out of the car, the golf course just exuberated pride and presence and just this unbridled passion to present the best they could. Now, they've got their 125 years coming up the next week, I think. But to say the essence of the golf course is what I love and how I grew up, which is it wasn't the fanciest golf club in the world. It wasn't Winged Foot or Shinnecock. That has pride because these people just had pride in their golf course. And it is the epitome of what I love about golf. So why was it so good? Well, the place was spotless. The course was on the water. Anytime I can see the ocean, I'm at home. The greens were magnificent. And there was just a hub. It was one of the few golf courses that I've been to that you can hit balls. It's a smallish block of land, so you had to hit balls off a spare tee down 18, and that then cut off at around, I presume, 10 o'clock. And you had to hit your own balls, go pick them up, shag them yourself, and which I love. And that's an art, and that whole essence of improvement of hitting balls and going to go pick them up is lost. I mean, virtually no golf courses do that anymore. We then have an improvement pivot point as we're playing, and Damo said, hey, let's go grab a shag of balls and we'll go chip some. And so we walked about 200 yards to the chipping green. Chipping green was magnificent. I did suggest a couple of improvements. We could shave a lot of the rough down and we could put some pine trees against the road just to block off the noise and make it a really beautiful little encapsulated place. So gave him some ideas we could think about how to improve that. And then he was about to go and empty these 40 shag balls and chip to them. And I'm like, hey, dude, pump the brakes. Why don't we grab 3 balls and we chip? And there are other people there, so we couldn't really putt them out. But in that moment where this chap would have gone and hit 40 chip shots from the same chipping spot, I changed the way he looked at how to practice. And I said, no, let's grab 3 balls. We chip them up, putt them in, and then we just walk around the green with only 3 balls. Because what it does, it allows the brain to work on shots that you're about to play on the golf course. When you guys go, and you see this all the time, I certainly see it at Ferry Point a lot. When you have 20 balls and you're chipping it from the one spot, you're on autopilot. The brain is not creating a process to gauge information, present information, and then play the shot. You're just chipping and chipping and chipping and chipping. And after the second shot, the brain switches off and you don't learn. Remember, our job is to learn to improve. So whilst we're still talking about on the greens here, I had a great time, we're also talking about the improvement pivot point number 1. When you go to your golf course and you're chipping 3 balls, 2 or 3 balls, and putt them in, chip it up, putt them in, chip it up, putt them in, because you're setting the tone for what you're about to do. You are about to miss greens in your forthcoming round. Instead of hitting 30 of the same chip one up, putt it in, chip one up, putt it in, and try and have a different lie. Grab 3 shots. So grab a pitching wedge, a high bounce, and a low bounce. We had a high bounce, low bounce. And get to know what the grass needs to play the different shot. Pick them up, walk to a different part of the green, and play a little low chip and run with a high bounce. Then play a flop shot with a high bounce. Then play a low chipping run with a low bounce. The idea is to create a set of learning skills that you can take to the golf course. Remember, you should always practice how you're about to play. So if you're about to play a round of golf and you're hitting 30 chips from the one spot, you never hit the same shot twice in a round of golf. So try and practice that way. So we played well. I had an eagle and a birdie, a couple of bogeys, starting to hit the ball really nicely. Remember, I've been working on coming a lot more under into impact. Hit some beautiful high bomb draws with my driver, which I haven't hit for about a month or so. So it was really nice to get that club feeling under for me personally. And then we worked on systems for the guys. And what I wanted to share with you was our improvement pivot point, which is alignment, alignment, alignment. But I was hoping to talk about it more broadly from how we see people practicing here and then how they take that to the golf course. So why don't we get into it? We're going to talk some alignment. Okay, improvement pivot point. We've talked about this before, but I really wanted to hammer this home because we've presented a platform. The Swing brand is a vertically integrated brand, from clubs to physical therapy to group training to improvement to lessons. And what I realized that we can help said golfer in here, we can improve their technique, we can improve their group training. The chap we're talking about is about to turn up for group training. He can see if he's got any injuries, we can help his injuries, we can prevent his injuries. I can give them lessons, we can improve their pivot to path, we can improve their face to path, we can improve their lure point. Said differently, I can get him indoors ripping it to about a 2 or 3 handicap. However, if that said same golfer does what he did, which we highlighted on Friday, and his process is flawed, it doesn't matter how good the Swing brand improves him. If he goes to the golf course and doesn't create a set of parameters that sets him up for success, he won't enjoy his golf. So this is what happened. Velcro on, switched on. The chap we're talking about does Velcro on, switched on, and he's mentally very, very strong. I'm trying to hit to this yellow foam roller. So as this chap hit to the yellow foam roller, he pointed his club face to the target. He walked in front of the perpendicular. So let me bring in Mr. T-square. So if I point a T-square, to play good golf, whether one's coming from the outside torso or from the inside hips, walking in perpendicular allows a golfer to point the club face to yellow foam roller, which is the start line. Remember, the target, the flag, is not always where you want to start the ball. Every golfer should point the arrow of the club face. Obviously, you can't play golf with the arrow, but let's keep the arrow on there for an illustration. Every golfer wants to start the ball on the start line to finish it at the target. So if I'm trying to hit that yellow foam roller, I have my club face a whisker to the right of the roller, because I'm going to hit a draw, and my feet are parallel left. So, said person on Friday, he pointed his club face roughly, he stood very open, and then as he set up to the ball, he walked in front of the perpendicular. So, for people who are listening, I like my ankles to be equidistant to the perpendicular of the target line. This chap walked in front of the target line, so his feet on an 80-yard pitch, I've got it on video, his feet were about 30 yards to the right. Therefore, if he points the club face parallel to his shoulder line, his club face is now 60 yards to the right with an 80-yard pitch shot. Guess what this individual did? Spun his torso to bring the club face back online. So what we wanted to do was explain that if you're playing on your own, what I would recommend you do is grab your alignment rod. For the Northeast golfers here in New York City, most of them play with caddies. So what I would recommend is, if you've got your caddy, ask him to stand behind you and say, hey buddy, I need my club face pointing at the big tree on the right, and I need my body, my feet line, parallel left of it for a right-handed golfer. Or if I'm a lefty, I need my club face pointing at the target and I need my feet parallel right. The point is, golfers, you can work beautifully on your technique, your short game, your putting. The reason we have T-squares and noodles here is if you can't align correctly, and if the start of your golf swing doesn't bring the club back parallel to target line, i.e. inside and open. So for the chap we played with on Friday, if he's going to point his feet to the right of the target, his club face will be 80 yards right. From a driver point of view, he will be 150 yards to the right of where he's trying to hit it. If my body's pointing right, I am then going to spin my torso. I'm going to move my torso before my hips because that brings the club face back to target. So now all the beautiful work we've done here at Swing has been unraveled in 2 holes. And if you play a couple of times away from swing and away from a structured environment, as much as we know we want the hips to lead, arms to trail, come from the inside, hit it straight off, he's going to undo that because of how his brain perceives alignment. What I'd recommend, I use the T-square for perpendicular, let's kick that away. What I would recommend, if you're playing, club comes out of bag, you're going to put the alignment rod slightly right of target. So you've walked up, you've got your golf bag here, put the alignment rod slightly right. Therefore, you can parallel or crosshairs like you're firing a gun, or you know a crosshairs, right? I'm going to crosshairs my club face, then drag it back. Now I know my club face is pointing to target, and I can parallel my feet to the white rod, and I can parallel my shoulders to the white rod. So again, I think if obviously you can't do that in competition, but if you're playing with your mates on a Friday afternoon for 9 holes, put the rod down, feet parallel, shoulders parallel, and I'm good to go. Because unless you provide a set of circumstances that enables you to be square to where you're trying to hit the golf ball, your technique will really, really suffer. And watching that firsthand, what we did then with Big D was that I gave him a T-square. Let's bring back Mr. T-square. And what that did was it just altered his brain a little bit. So we put a T-square down where he hit the golf ball. Now, unfortunately, because his proprioception, his brain's ability to think where he is in space, because he's so used to aiming right and recovering his club face back to target coming over the top, when we got him square, guess what he did? He still hit it chunky and steep. And then within about 3 holes, I said, Damo, you got to trust that your shoulders and feet and hips and club face are all square. So for this particular individual, he felt like his feet were way open. He felt like his shoulders were closed. And in actuality, he was dead square. And then it took 2 or 3 holes, and then he started coming from the inside and ripping it. The point is, what I'm really noticing in this industry is that the industry will throw you just some Band-Aids to put over the whole leaking pipe, the hole, so to speak. We're one of the few guys who are really taking a step back and saying, let's just not throw money at it. Let's just not throw new equipment at it. Let's actually create a system where we can understand that, hey, alignment, be it chipping, pitching, putting, you've got to have your club faced where you want the ball to start and your body parallel left. When I'm chipping, right, here's my T-square. When I'm chipping and I walk in with open feet and I'm going to play my little chip shot, as we've talked about, if I keep my heels on the ground and rotate them back to target line, I'm going to hit where my sternum is, which is 3 inches behind that ball. Walking in with some structure, if I'm hitting a little 7-iron chip and run, have the ball. In this case, I want to hit a little chip and run off my back foot. Then if I want to open myself up, knock yourself out. Alignment and ball position on the golf course is so important. And after witnessing it again firsthand on Friday, I think too many people go straight to technique and just throw money at it when you don't need to. If you align yourself correctly to your start line, you have your body parallel to that start line, you're going to play some great golf. In a perfect world, we would love you to lead with your hips and come from the inside. But I've played golf for the last 3 weeks being on top of it and played fine. Our job is, you're not going to play perfect golf, but manage little things like alignment, ball position, and choose the right shot. I got the guys on Friday to play little rescues when they missed a green and they had to chip up a really steep slope. Instead of putting that, because a putter has 0 loft, and if a putter has 0 loft, the ball starts along the ground, and every time it hits the grass, it bumps. But if you grab your rescue with 19 degrees aloft, now the ball scoots up in the air. And so we got them playing little rescue putts. I said, just feel like you putt it with a rescue. A longer lever creates more velocity. A little bit of loft gets the ball scooting, and all of a sudden they're playing 40-yard chip and runs with a rescue, and they're playing beautiful little chip shots, running it up hills and on to greens, especially with the British Open coming on this week. So our job is to create a parameter and a set of circumstances where you can absolutely own your swing. Bring a maybe not a metal T-square, bring a little alignment rod, put it on the ground, make sure your club face is where you want the ball to start, and you are pedantic about getting feet, hips and shoulders parallel to where you're trying to hit it, and you will absolutely own your swing. Look, enjoy the British Open or the Open this week. It's going to be phenomenal. Remember, our newsletter drops Friday. Thank you so much for listening. Press the little like button, send it to your mates, because again, I believe us to be one of the few vertically integrated brands who really care. And so our job is to create set of circumstances where you can own your swing. Beauty golfers, we'll see you next week. Cheers.